Hello and welcome to this video tutorial, which is aimed at exhibitors due to attend one of our Generation Careers events. We hope that over the next few minutes, we'll be able to share some tips and best practice to ensure that you get the most out of attending a Generation event. My name is Alicia Loxley. I'm the Enterprise Coordinator for all the county's special education needs schools, and I'm joined by two of our most frequent attendees at the Generation events. Lauren Christie from Sky Studios Elstree and Paul Grogan from Tesco. Hello, and thanks for joining us.
Hello.
To set the scene then, you've just registered for you or your company to attend a Generation event. It may be the first time you've attended, so let's talk a little bit through what to expect. Lauren, as someone who attends nearly all our Generation events, talk us through the format of the day, beginning with what you do in preparation.
Yep, so usually I would get there early and then I would unpack whatever I've sort of thought to bring, and that could be tablecloths or it could be for us, I include props and things that the students might be really engaged with. And I'm also really mindful that, at Sky Studios Elstree, where I'm representing our company and what we offer, but also our industry and our sector. So I'm also really aware of kind of bringing materials and things that can show off what else is out there, not just what we offer at Sky Studios Elstree. And I'm usually, at least half an hour early to make sure I set up on time. Usually there's a good pastry or a coffee or something to grab beforehand, so that I'm ready for the schools when they arrive.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lauren. And Paul, I know you bring your Tesco banners and pop-ups and all the stuff that can make you easily identifiable. Do you bring anything else with you?
No, like you said, mostly we bring the banner and pull-up. We have the odd pen and book that we kind of put aside for those students asking the really insightful questions. But we don't really have much in the way of freebies. So we focus on providing insightful, interesting conversation around working for Tesco and the different routes and opportunities that present in working in retail.
Yeah, that's great. And actually, the other thing I noticed about you, Paul, is that you rarely stay behind your table. So unlike a more traditional looking exhibitor. So why is that?
Well, first and foremost, I'm probably a little bit of a fidget, but I'm also very conscious that I think a table can act as a physical barrier for students who tend to kind of want to interact with you, and that table acts as that barrier. I think you want to kind of speak to them one-on-one. As a parent of a teenager, I know they can be quite kind of nervous about approaching adults, so it can come across quite rude sometimes. They feel like if you've kind of got that table in between you two. So to be out there and have that conversation, having a few icebreakers, obviously working at Tesco, everyone knows about meal deals. So that's one of the most popular questions I always ask. If they're not looking like they want to come over, we ask about a meal deal, and that soon gets the conversation started. We also want to make sure that we talk to them about all those opportunities at Tesco, and that it's not just retail. There's so many different opportunities at Tesco. So it's always a great time to chat to them, and really in an informal way of doing it.
Absolutely. That's really interesting, because I know a lot of employers from various sectors have myths to try and bust. So that might be something that all exhibitors could have in mind. And remembering, as you've just said, that it's not just the obvious job role a company is there to talk about. It takes a whole team of different people to make a business work. Lauren, do you have similar challenges?
Yeah, I do. I think there's quite a few misconceptions about our industry. So I have lots of students who kind of ask, what roles are there? Usually most young people will know about kind of director, editor and actor, but there's thousands of other roles, from security to catering, assistant directing, art department, prop making. So it's really about kind of bringing it to life for them and giving them the opportunity to ask questions and find out more. And kind of Paul mentioned this approach of being really proactive, which I think is really important. And sometimes it can just be a question, or it could be like, oh, do you like the look of that? Or, oh, have you seen this resource? And that can often just start a conversation off for a young person.
Absolutely. There's some really good practices there from both of you, which I think provide good advice for other employers. So thank you. And on that note, can you tell us about any bad practices that you've seen? Maybe let's start with Paul. Yes, start with you.
So one thing, it's not so much a bad practice to begin with. I try and bring colleagues with me because as long as we're Echo, it's a long day. a lot of standing and a lot of talking. So to have a few colleagues there to support you is fantastic. First and foremost, I'd always say try and maybe bring along people maybe a little bit relatable as well. A lot of young people there. So maybe if you've got any apprenticeships or graduates in your business, maybe bring them along. They're relatable for what the young person's going through. It's been quite a few years since I've last been at school or college. So having colleagues with you who've just come through that process is really insightful. The main bit I would avoid, apart from standing behind a table, is laptops. You're there for the day. You're there to commit to the young people. So unless a laptop's showing something relatable to the kind of what you're offering, keep the laptop down. And I think it's really, really important to be kind of the eye contact throughout the process.
Absolutely. And Lauren, how about you?
Yeah, similar. I think it's also good to make sure that you're taking breaks, like you say, Paul. It's good to have that other person there so you can just have a minute away. But yeah, it's just trying to engage with that young person as much as possible. And I think having that kind of either a phone or a laptop in front of you sometimes doesn't give the best impression, and especially for young people who might have their own addictions to devices, you're trying to show them what it's like in a business world and what, as a role model, what are the kind of behaviors you would want to see. So I think that's really important. And so before this, I was also a careers leader before my role now. And so bringing students along to events like this, it was really important, and it was about giving that perspective and kind of sort of opening up that young person's mind about what could be available. And so you're genuinely there to inspire. So, trying to give your full attention is really key, because you never know where that conversation may lead. I've had conversations before with a young person, and they've then, I've met them a year or two later, and they've taken my advice, and it's totally changed what their career could be, their ideas. So it really can be an inspirational moment. So it's really key to make sure you're connecting well as you can be.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, Paul, were you going to say something?
No, and the other thing I would always say is, where possible, kind of let them try not to talk at them. To begin with, you may need to get that initial conversation going. But I tend to start a conversation with them. What would you like to do? And then I try and align it to a role at Tesco, opposed to kind of talking about all the different roles, because that can be quite overwhelming for them. So start the conversation, but let them ask you the questions, really.
Absolutely. That's great advice. Thank you both for that. And you'll both know that our generation events are organised like a military operation and are made up of 3 sessions to suit all students that attend. So, as mentioned earlier, we work with special education needs schools and the educational support centres, and every generation event will have a quieter time slot. And this is specifically allocated for students who may become overwhelmed if they're in a busy room with lots of students from other schools. And there are often around 200 in the room at any one time. How do you both adapt to engage with students with special or additional needs? We'll start with, whoever.
Did you want me to pick up, Lauren?
Go for it. You go for it first.
Thank you. I think the way the generation events do it to begin with is really helpful. That period of time where it's a little bit quieter. I think at times we even dim the lights occasionally. So first and foremost, the team help us. I think it's no real different in a way, because a lot of the, be it neurodiverse, deaf, they're there to find out about the industry you're working with. So it might be in some cases slow it down a little bit. I'm quite kind of hands up and down, so sometimes may even take that back a little bit. But I tend to I treat them like I treat any other young person there, to be fair. I just think the environment supports us, and the way it's managed gives us that kind of experience with the young person that they can really get the most from the experience.
Absolutely. Lauren, do you have anything?
Yeah, and similar to kind of what Paul said earlier, I sort of let them take the lead a little bit, and I sort of gauge, what their abilities are and what they can do, and how they are in that space. And if they look like they're sort of feeling a bit anxious, I don't give them a whole spiel. I might just ask them a couple of questions to sort of tease them out, or they might be looking at the props, particularly the props on my table. So I might kind of start a conversation about that and then lead into the careers bit, as a way to kind of ease them in.
I think that's good. I think that's as the kids would say, it's the kind of understanding the vibe. So if you get a vibe that there's a conversation there to be had, you go along with it, to be fair. And if they're struggling a little bit, then that's maybe when you just take that kind of step back a little bit.
Yeah, Yeah, sure, absolutely. And of course, all the student groups will be bussed in and out throughout the day. So, and the three parts to the day are split into a morning session with a lunch break, and before the afternoon session, which usually finishes about 3 o'clock. There's another quick break before we move into the twilight session, which is where students from all the local schools are invited to attend with parents or carers. And we usually get around 400 to 500 people attend this part, which is very busy. And we find there tends to be many meaningful conversations during those sessions between students, parents and employers. We provide all the students with information brochures as well about each exhibitor prior to the event, so they can do some proactive planning. And there's even some suggested questions to ask an employer in the back of the brochure. So it's not always up to you guys. We try to encourage them to be proactive too, and build a bit of confidence there for them. And once we get them started, then hopefully that can help bridge those gaps and make those icebreakers a little easier for you, because we know how shy they can be sometimes too. So Paul, how does the twilight session differ to the first part of the day for you?
So the first part of the day can be quite manic, maybe at times dealing with two different schools and within an hour. So the twilight slot is always calmer. As you say, most students tend to come with their parents, and that changes the dynamic. It can be the parents who lead the conversation, and at times that can be a bit more detailed. So we might spend a lot more time with individual young people and their parents than we do during the kind of the day. But it's always a great opportunity to talk about all the opportunities available at Tesco. And I think it's really brought invaluable insight for the parents and the young people for this session.
And Lauren?
Yeah, like Paul said, it is a bit of a different vibe, but often I'm actually busier in the twilight session than I am in the day. There's usually a queue to see me, but that's really great. You know, that's why we stay so long, and that's why we want that engagement. So yeah, usually you know, parents might ask more questions, and they're really important because they are also a big influence of the young people that we see as well. So we want to make sure we give them enough time and some good resources and some good information to take away.
That's great, yeah. And actually, we usually find that both you and Paul are the last to leave, but how important is it to stay until the end of the twilight session?
Yeah, we usually have the last to leave, but I'm so pleased that I am that, because it means that, you know, there's a real engagement and people have come, and that's really key to stay, because often young people and parents will come for specific employers, and I think, you know, I've seen it before. They're so disappointed if their employer is not there and they've come specifically to see them. So it is really important to stay right till the end. I know there's a temptation to kind of pack up early because you might want to go home, and you know, I get that, but also it is important because, you know, young people and parents have specifically come for particular employers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I totally agree. I kind of echo everything Lauren said there. We look at our roles collectively, engaging students. As a parent myself, if I've been working all day and then I'd got home and I had to pick my two kids up and take them across to wherever it was being held, for it to be half empty when I arrived there, I wouldn't be overly impressed. So from my point of view, if I've made a commitment from 9 to 5, 9 to 6, that I'll be there from 9 till 6, to be fair. Because I think it just gives such a wonderful opportunity to promote what we do. And yeah, we wouldn't encourage students to leave school early, so we shouldn't leave early either.
Thank you both for that. Absolutely good advice. And of course, these events are great opportunities for you to network with other employers too. And we generally have anything between 50 to 60 other businesses attending from a wide range of sectors, which means it's an ideal opportunity to make new connections for everyone. We've talked about what we want from exhibitors, but it's a two-way opportunity. So Lauren, what do you get out of attending?
Yeah, so for me, it's really about having those direct conversations with young people and really making sure that we're delivering good careers advice to them. We want to understand a bit about, you know, what young people think about our sector, and you know, it's really useful for that as well. And you know, we have a team, we have a bit of a team at Sky, so we're able to do it. But even if you're a small SME, or you know, maybe there's only one person, two people who could attend that day, I think it's still really useful. And certainly if you're looking for your kind of workforce of the future, you know, you're going direct to the source, so it's really important to do that.
Paul?
100%. Again, everything Lauren said, couldn't agree with more. I've always valued the chance to speak with other exhibitors, I can't say that word, exhibitors, or whatever, other companies on board, whether that's a local college to learn more about the courses and how it relates to some of our early career programs, or speaking to other businesses around their early careers. So you can never kind of know too much, to be fair. So having them conversations, learn about what other kind of barriers companies face, industries face with recruitment, is invaluable for the day. And it also, from a kind of a selfish point of view, it gives us them direct conversations, and it'll help us identify the young kind of talent across Hertfordshire, because, you know, Tesco, a leading retailer, we want to kind of employ the very best, and these kind of opportunities and these days give us that opportunity to talk to those young people.
Absolutely. Thank you both for those insights. Well, I think it's been really informative, and I hope that everyone watching will have gained a better understanding of what to expect and how to make the most of the day that you will play a really valuable part in. And to reiterate the key points that we've spoken about, are to be proactive when engaging with students and give them your full attention when speaking with them. Bring somebody who is comfortable talking to young people with you or has done something like this before. Feel free to bring as many freebies as you like, but no laser pens. We've had a bad experience with those in the past, so that's the only rule, no laser pens. Engage with special education needs students. They may require a different communication approach, but embrace the opportunity to engage. You'll find there's some amazing skills and talent amongst those who are neurodivergent. Make sure you stay until the end of the Twilight session, which is mainly for job or apprenticeship ready young people or sixth formers exploring their next steps. And make sure most of the opportunities to engage with the other employers and exhibitors, I've done the same as you, Paul, and make sure that you get connecting with them and expand your network. Thank you both for joining me today, and also for those who are watching. If you have any more questions or want to book a stand at one of our Generation Careers events, do not hesitate to contact us. The details of how to get in touch are on the Generation Events page on the HOP website, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Yes.